I was running into a little bit of shaking of the saw, as you can see right here. So I'm running into problems that my frame isn't as stiff as I'd like it, and it tends to vibrate in this direction a little bit, although it's hard to do that by hand, because the frame here is just not stiff enough. But the bandsaw frame is really stiff, so what I found is if I just clamp the bandsaw frame to my larger frame, that will allow the stiffness of the bandsaw frame to really stiffen up the larger frame, and it really cuts down on vibrations. Here I'm cutting a 32 centimeter wide piece of wood off of this block. I had to go really, really slow. I only have a 3 teeth per inch blade, and that type of blade is generally only used for cutting up to 8 inches wide, so to cut 32 centimeters, 12.5 inches wide, is really pushing it. It took just over a minute to cut the one slice off, and after 14 slices I had to resharpen the blade. You need a really sharp blade if you're cutting much wider than the blade is meant for. I hooked up a power meter to the motor, and doing some of those wide cuts, you could see that I was totally using all the available power from that motor. After about 14 slices, the blade became too dull, and it started to wander off to the side and break out the side of my veneer. I really need to get a 2 TPI blade, which is much more suitable for making cuts that deep. Even with a blade that was too dull to cut through the 12.5 inches wide, once I reduced the block to 6 inches wide, I was able to cut quite well with that. So I've been cutting lots of thin pieces and a lot of really, really thin veneer just to exercise the bandsaw to its maximum capacity. And I've got a lot more information about how this bandsaw is working on my website.